Welcome back to the third Saturday in October, your SEC Water Cooler podcast for the rest of us. Coming to you live from the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
I'll explain that in just a moment. You can find us online at thirdsaturdayin.october.com, on social media and Venmo at TSIO Pod. I am Bradley here with co-caster Jared, who is on a family cruise and decided to take a little time out to talk SEC football. Jared, how you doing?
Yeah, man, I am at sea, literally, and you can see I'm in a cabin.
Yeah,
My typical background, but I've got my Auburn cap on. And when Bradley said, "Oh, maybe we should put this one off," I'll just take it solo. I'm like, "No, Auburn beat Texas A&M. Let's hit record. Let's make it happen." So
absolutely. Yeah,
here we are. I'm celebrating. I'm happy. Not just Thanksgiving, but I'm grateful for Auburn getting a win this week, and then Alabama losing. There's so much to talk about. We'll just go ahead and jump in.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll jump right in because it was the theme of the season, chaos.
Okay.
S- Starting right off, the Florida Gators giving the
Yeah.
Tennessee Vols a big old gift. Gift number one for Christmas this year. Florida
Yes.
defeats Ole Miss 24-17.
Yes.
Um, I don't know what it was, but it like they drew a line in the sand and said Billy Napier is our coach, and all of a sudden the Gators are playing like they should be contending for an SEC championship, which
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
a little too late, but
Yeah.
hey,
Well, when I saw them the previous week against LSU, what a game. I knew, man, if they play like they played against LSU, they got a shot against Ole Miss. Um, and here we are, Ole Miss going down against the Gators. Lane Kiffin rumored all season as a potential replacement for Billy Napier. How fitting is it for Billy Napier to get this win over Ole Miss and a massive weekend for Florida Gators having recruits on hand at the game.
yeah,
Would it surprise me to see Florida sneak in and steal or flip some big name guys right before signing day? I think that's a likelihood. Yes, is Florida going to go make something happen the rest of the season? No, they're not going to be SEC contenders, but they beat LSU, they beat Ole Miss back to back, and they got Florida State this coming week, rivalry game. So as a half-hearted Gators fan, I'm thrilled for the Gators and excited for what's going to come up here with rivalry week. But what a great win for the
yeah.
Gators, and I just think it's kind of ironic with all those storylines playing out the way they did.
Re-
Ole
re-
Miss is still a
really,
good team. They
yeah.
just couldn't get it done against the Gators, which who would have thought? I think most people wouldn't have given the Gators a shot in that one, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, and I mean it was a good week to be the home team. Um
Yeah.
as uh 10 9 out of 10 home teams won this weekend, but
Yep.
I don't know that I've ever I don't feel good saying this. I don't think I've ever liked Florida more than I did this last weekend
Oh, well, it
beating Ole
benefited
Miss.
Tennessee. Let's not pretend it didn't. But even if it didn't, it was a good win.
Yeah. Um Georgia had UMass
Yes.
and took care of business 59-21. Georgia's Ge- Georgia's in the SEC championship.
Yes.
Um, they're going to be playing Texas.
Te-
Uh,
Texas A&M, right? It's the winner of the game, right?
well, yeah, I guess A&M wins the tiebreaker if they win. So they're going to be playing a Texas school.
Yeah.
Um, but
Which is still a pretty good SEC championship game, in my opinion, regardless
yeah,
of. So I think Georgia Texas is what that rematch people want to see. But Georgia and Texas A&M haven't played, so I think I'd almost rather see the two teams that haven't played.
yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that matchup.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, the forever little brother, to
Yeah.
Texas to the SEC taking on
Right.
recent the most recent powerhouse in Georgia.
Yeah.
Um, it would be very interesting.
Potential still be the powerhouse. We'll see.
Yeah. Uh, but I mean, not a whole lot to say about Georgia taking on UMass.
No,
Not a whole lot to say.
UMass got 21 points on them. Maybe they sat some of their guys. Maybe they kind of let off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
You can do that this week, but you can't do that next week.
Right. Right. And
You
t
got Georgia Tech.
yeah, yeah,
Georgia
and
Tech can get some wins, man. You know, if Georgia's sleeping, they'll
yeah. Ge-
embarrass.
Georgia Tech's one of those teams that can sneak up on you.
Yeah,
Um,
they are not. Yeah, you don't sleep on Georgia Tech. They could be decent. So
yeah. Another team who took care of business, my Tennessee Vols, beating up
yeah,
on UTEP 56-0. It was one of the earlier games, and
yep,
so it's just go out, take care of business, see what happens. Um, did not. I guess the Florida score was announced sometime during the game, but the rest of the scores would have been found out after the game.
yep,
But glad to see my Vols taking care of business.
totally.
Uh, Brew McCoy got his touchdown. His one of his NIL deals was anytime he scores a touchdown, free cookies. And that I mean, it only took till week 13, but it happened.
Yeah,
Um, so good to see that.
I think fans should participate in that as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's anybody in Knoxville. Um, I
yep,
wish I remembered the name of the cookie company. But
it's
hey,
all
cookie
good.
company, whoever you are, hit us with a Venmo and we'll
Yep,
mention your name.
yeah, we
Um,
we want cookies.
uh, Texas handled Kentucky pretty handily,
Yeah.
31-14.
Boy, and that builds up an exciting game this week with Texas and Texas A&M
Oh yeah.
because I think people are just anticipating Texas to take that one. But man, after Texas A&M coming off an embarrassing loss to Auburn, that's going to be a battle. That's going to be a fun game to watch. It already was, but now I
Yeah.
think the stakes are even higher for A&M, and you could see an A&M come out there and be ready to play against Texas. And is Ewers okay? I think Ewers got shaken up a little bit. You know
Yeah.
what that is?
And this game is in College Station this week.
That's a
Um,
huge home advantage.
Texas has seemed very beatable. I mean, obviously Georgia
Yep,
beat them pretty handily,
they can.
but they struggled against Vanderbilt. They struggled. Was it South Carolina? They had another struggle win in there somewhere.
Yeah, they're good.
And
They're beatable.
and A&M is coming out mad. So
Yeah, they got caught looking ahead, I think,
yeah,
and if they're not awake, if they weren't awake before, they are now. So Texas Longhorns are going into a hostile environment against a team that already wanted to whoop them, and now they got even more incentive to do so. Because if it is true that they win and they're in the SEC championship, man, A&M's got everything to play for.
yeah. So it's very very interesting to see how this will play out.
It's gonna be a fun game to watch. Can't wait for that one.
Um, another team that's gonna be fun to watch this weekend. South Carolina, who took on Wofford because
Yeah, that's
what
that's a gimme game, but I'm proud of South Carolina, man. I think they've had they've overachieved a bit this year, and
they have.
I would love to see them handle Clemson, and I think that could
Come
happen.
on.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
see it.
I'd love to see that. This was a great tune-up game, 56-12
Yep,
over Wofford.
I agree.
I um I I love Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I just think that's a great pairing.
And it's nice to see them, having a good season.
Yeah. Arkansas takes care of Louisiana Tech 35-14. Um, Arkansas, good team. Um, took care of Louisiana Tech. I mean, that's three touchdown win. Good job, Arkansas.
Yep,
Uh, and so again, Sam Pittman, great marriage to Arkansas. If he can just kind of string together a couple seasons, I think they could have really, really good seasons now and then. Um, and it's kind of like Kentucky. You're gonna have down years like this. Kentucky has a down year this year. Um, It's kind of like a South Carolina.
Yeah,
Um, you're not going to be a Georgia. You're not going to be a Nick Saban Alabama,
not like
who's
every season. You can have some good seasons. It's not likely it's going to be every year.
yeah,
Pittman stays. I'm happy for him. If he doesn't, I got a feeling Petrino's probably going to get the opportunity.
yeah.
But
What a
I'm,
storyline there.
and you never know.
Yeah. Um, the only home team to lose this week, Mississippi State, going
Yeah,
down to Missouri, 39-20. Missouri,
tough season for Mississippi State. Good win
yeah,
for Missouri. They needed it.
yeah. It,
That State, but they got the Egg Bowl coming up. Maybe they can sneak one over on Ole Miss.
oh
So
man, how great would that be? Um,
well, I personally am enjoying these Ole Miss losses, but I know that's not true for everybody. So, but yeah, that Ole Miss is likely going to handle business after that loss to Florida. Mississippi State just had a rough year,
yeah,
but Mississippi State pull off a win against Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. That definitely puts them in a better mood going into the off season, I would say. So, yeah, but they've had a hard season, and it isn't going to change what was, but it can really pick up the spirits of that fan base, and that's just a great rivalry game. Egg Bowl is always a good one.
yeah.
You never know who's going to win that one because it doesn't matter what the teams are ranked going into that or what their wins and losses are. It's a heated game, man, and players play differently in those types of scenarios. So
And yeah, rivalry week is that week where rankings, records don't matter.
you
Um,
see a team like Vanderbilt come out and be amazing. I know
yeah,
you don't know that, but it could happen.
it's happened before, and I'll tell you, I'm very nervous going into this weekend. Um, you, you know who should have been a little more nervous going into
Vanderbilt's record is what 6-5, but they don't play like 6-5. They're pretty
right.
good, so
No, they push teams to the brink
they do.
every
Yeah.
week. Somebody who should have been a little more nervous this last week, Alabama losing to Oklahoma
Unbelievable,
24-3.
unreal.
If I
Yeah,
remember correctly, first time not to score a touchdown since 2010 for Alabama.
yeah, and Alabama only dropped a few spots in the polls. Like, give me a break. Like, I mean, I'm all for the SEC being, in the polls and stuff. But Alabama losing like that to Oklahoma, they should have dropped a lot further than they
Yeah,
did. It's pretty ridiculous because I think when Georgia had their loss, they dropped like 9 spots or something. Alabama loses to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns. They maybe drop like 4 or 5. It's just like, who is doing this? Who's running this thing? But whatever. Alabama's got the Iron Bowl coming up. Obviously, I'm hoping Auburn can pull that one off. Alabama's at home. That's going to be that's probably not going to be a good outcome for Auburn, but we don't know. We don't know. Rivalry games, you never can predict. So
right. And speaking of Auburn, heck of a win against
yeah,
Texas A&M.
much needed.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was I, I was in the group chat with several Auburn fans, and I had turned on the Auburn game for
mm,
one play, and it was either I can't remember if it was a pick six or a long touchdown that A&M had.
yeah,
And my message was I only turned it on for one play. I'm sorry, like all caps. I
yep.
I said I'm turning it off, and I turned it off until the very end of the game.
Believe me, it was so many times in that game. I just assumed the worst, and for them to, the seniors in their last home game.
Oh man, I hope we didn't lose Jared. You're still there.
Okay, there we are. There we are. Yeah. So what I was saying is that was the seniors' last home game. For them to be able to eke out a win in quadruple overtime, that's just amazing. So happy for Auburn and Auburn fans. Hate to see, Texas A&M kind of, take that. There's so many chances they had to put that away, but I'm an Auburn fan. I wanted Auburn to win, and they got that win, and that's what they needed. They really
Yeah.
needed.
Well,
Uh,
it
yeah,
was a very gutsy. performance
Yeah.
by Auburn, especially in overtime, where I love the old rules where it's just you start on the 25 and you just trade off
Yep.
until somebody wins.
Yeah. I love it
Um,
till it doesn't go my way.
yeah,
And in Auburn's case, it hadn't gone their way most of the time, the
yeah.
last 4 years. So, yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, it's a lot more stressful now because first overtime, just like it's always been, second overtime, you have to go for two if you score a touchdown.
Yep.
Starting in the third overtime, you're just trading 2-point conversion attempts until somebody wins.
Until we saw what happened with just Texas A&M with a missed pass,
Yeah,
uh, which was right in the guy's hands, and he bobbled it. And I mean, great for Auburn, but what a rough way to lose for A&M.
yeah,
But yeah, man, that I mean, Auburn even stormed the field with only that was their fifth win of the season, and they stormed the field against Texas A&M, who's ranked at the time I think 15.
yeah,
So, I mean, Auburn's had such a hard 4 years for those seniors and for students that have watched those tough 4 years. It's been the worst 4 years like in the last several decades for Auburn.
yeah,
Them storming the field, I get it. Other schools like Florida, they don't storm the field when they beat LSU or Ole Miss. Okay, people can make that comment, and that's fair. But Auburn's just it means more.
yeah,
That's what my opinion is. Not everyone agrees, but they stormed the field. Good for them. Oklahoma stormed the field against Alabama.
yeah.
So yeah,
Have there been more
no,
stormings of the field this year?
not I can't remember it even being close. Not even being close. But we're at a time and place where man, big wins get your team just super over the top excited, and I'm here for it, man. And I don't want
Yeah,
anybody to get hurt, and I don't like people getting in trouble, but I understand it. It means a lot to the SEC. So when you get a win, that's a big one, and
yeah.
you feel it shouldn't happen, but it does, and I understand it.
Well, and,
So
and my only thing with storming the field, Auburn this last week, is Auburn basically turned out the lights after the win, and it was
that's a little
dark.
dangerous. Let's not let's call it what it is. But I've been paying attention to X and a lot of the tweets with the recruits, and there was a lot of recruits at that game too, and those recruits were the first one storming that field. And
Yeah,
as an Auburn fan, you're just hopeful. You're so optimistic, man. This can translate to some signing day wins, because that's really all you have to hope for outside of a win at the Iron Bowl. Um, you need that next recruiting class to be as good as it can be, and having those kids at that game and storming the field and being excited about Auburn football, and I'm here for it, man. And if that gets a flip or two, so be it.
yeah, yeah. It what a win. Congrats Auburn on that because that was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That was the second gift for
Now,
Tennessee
now
of the night.
I'm in full transparency. I'm rooting for A&M against Texas. I'd love to see some mayhem. Let's see A&M. Now that Auburn beat them,
Yeah.
let them go out and get a victory and earn their spot in the SEC championship game.
Hey, I love seeing Texas fans cry.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's a beautiful thing.
you're the true UT guy. I get it. Yep.
Well, and our final game of the week this last week, LSU defeats Vanderbilt 24-17. Hey, I
Yeah,
know it was
good
not a win
rebound
for
win, Brett.
Vanderbilt,
Yep.
but props to going into Baton Rouge, into Death Valley at night and only
Hold,
losing by a touchdown.
yeah, holding their own. Yeah, they held their own. Nothing to be ashamed of there at all. Yeah, Vanderbilt has nothing to hang their heads about, and LSU is due a win. That's a good rebound win for them. They needed that, and but Vanderbilt has now got Tennessee, and I understand why you're a little bit nervous about that because there's no guarantee that Vanderbilt's an easy win now. Uh, Man, it's just going to be so fun to see the games this Saturday. I mean, the
Oh
last
yeah.
week really set up this week perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we've got the Egg Bowl on Thursday. I'm sorry, on Friday. On
Yeah,
Black Friday, we've got the Egg Bowl. Um,
that's worth watching. That's a must watch, in my opinion.
On Friday, we
Yep.
also have good old fashioned hate. Georgia Tech going to Athens and
Yeah.
taking on Georgia. Um,
Yeah. Of course, I want the Bulldogs to win that one, but man, that's not a guarantee.
right. Um, then Saturday, we've got Tennessee at Vanderbilt, South Carolina at Clemson,
Ugh, it's going to be so fun. Yeah.
Louisville at Kentucky.
That's yeah.
Interesting to
I'm
see how
pulling for
Kentucky
Kentucky. Yeah.
how does Kentucky take on a 7-4 Louisville team? We'll find out.
Yeah. Louisville's not a bad team, and
No,
Can be a good team, but they've had a rough year, so it'd
yeah,
be nice if Kentucky
and
win a
and
rival.
it's the SEC, and I mean Kentucky has taken Georgia to the brink.
Yeah.
Kentucky's
They beat Ole Miss. Yeah, they can
yeah,
hang.
um,
I think
th
I can hang with Louisville. I think they can win if they show up. You know,
yeah,
uh,
absolutely,
I
especially being a
I
home game for them.
I really hope that's what they do. So
Yeah, uh, we've got the Iron Bowl.
yeah,
Um,
or Eagle, man, all day. It's in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's not playing well recently. Alabama seems to be hitting its stride. Auburn seems to be hitting its stride now. Maybe they can get that sixth important win and go to a bowl game. I know
uh,
that most other teams would put up their nose at that, but for Auburn this season, that's a massive thing if we can make that happen.
yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yep.
Um, uh, Arkansas travels to Missouri. Um,
Hey,
they
that's gonna be a good game too.
it could be yeah, it could be. And this is one of those rivalries. What is this? Battle for the Boot, I
Yeah,
believe. It's one of those rivalries that I don't know. I don't know if Arkansas or Missouri fans get into it. It's
I
hard.
think they
It's
do.
hard.
I think they do. I really do. Because there's some old Big 12 heat there, or there's some heat there from the past, if I recall.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's still a good matchup. So
it's
it's
one.
not Missouri and Kansas. That's a deeper rivalry, but
Yeah,
it's a good game. That'll be
yeah,
a good. Those fans care about that.
yeah. We've got Florida going to Florida State.
Who's LSU?
Um, I don't know what to think about Florida State. Oklahoma goes to LSU. Uh,
Okay,
this this
Oklahoma. Okay, interesting.
this is a night game.
Where's
Oklahoma
that?
coming off that big win. Um, it'll be interesting to see because Oklahoma's 6-5, LSU 7-4. Like I feel like the gap between these two teams is larger than one game.
Oh, 100%.
And
I kind of, be honest, I missed the Bedlam series. It would have been nice for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State to be able to keep that game.
yeah,
But that's not the case. So we got LSU and Oklahoma, and that's still a good game. And those players are going to be excited and ready for it.
yeah.
So
And then rounding out the night, Texas going to College Station.
yeah,
Take
that is a battle right there.
that
Yeah,
that is going to be a fun one to watch. I'm gonna have to have that one going in the
boy.
house
Yeah, there's
Saturday night.
good football on this weekend. Yeah, this is the weekend not to miss for sure.
I mean, come on, A&M.
Yeah, go. Hey,
Upset Texas.
Nick.
Go take on Georgia, and we'll see
Okay.
what happens.
Yeah, I don't care what happens against Georgia. Well, I mean, you know, but I want to see Texas A&M beat Texas for sure.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it. Um, Chaos. It's still happening. More of it could happen this
Okay.
weekend.
Do we see two storming of the fields this weekend, Bradley?
Um, I mean, I I guess the only storming of the field would be A&M because well,
Yeah,
if
I
Vanderbilt beats Tennessee,
see if they beat Texas, I think that's a guarantee that you'll get a storming of the field in College Station. What about anybody else? Do you think anybody else might?
so I don't think LSU will storm the field for Oklahoma.
No,
Um, if
unlikely.
if Florida State somehow pulls it out against Florida, maybe
Is that game in Tallahassee?
it's in Tallahassee.
Okay, so that would
Um,
Florida
I
State.
don't I don't
Yeah,
see
I want
Missouri.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Missouri celebrating a win over Arkansas that big. I don't see Alabama celebrating a win over
I
Auburn
think
that big.
a storm
Um,
against Auburn. Yeah.
Maybe Kentucky over Louisville. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, that would be a huge win for Kentucky. Is it enough for storming the field?
I don't.
That's a good rivalry, though. Could be.
Yeah. And if Clemson beats South Carolina, I feel like they're just kind of say, we're supposed to win and
Um,
move on. But
but if that game was in South Carolina, they'd storm the field for sure.
yeah, a- absolutely. Um,
So you're right. If there is one, it's most likely to be A&M if A&M beats Texas.
yeah, and I hope it happens. I hope nobody gets hurt, and I hope it happens.
Okay, so let's talk hot seat. If there is some coaching turnover in the SEC, who do you think that could be after rivalry weekend?
Um, I don't know that Kentucky's dumb enough to fire Stoops. Um, it's
Seems
I think it's just one of those
like would have
years.
already punted with Stoops if they just didn't want him.
Yeah.
Although things have been a little shaky the last year. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Um, I don't think really the only two programs I'm like, like they could pull the trigger, Kentucky and Mississippi State, and I don't think either one of them does that. I think Kentucky knows what they have in Stoops and knows it's a down year, and they'll give him another year or two to kind of right that ship.
Right.
Um, Mississippi
Which
State, I think they're still.
yeah.
I mean, they were
No,
just dealt a
they
bad hand. I think they're still trying to figure that out.
no, they just hired Levy. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And I think they have for Mississippi State standards. I think they have a pretty good recruiting class.
Yeah.
Verizon. I'd be really surprised if that happened. Now, let me ask you this: if Brian Kelly loses to Oklahoma, he's not going to get fired. But is there hot seat talk going into next year? Because man,
I,
that's
I,
that's unlike the LSU's that we're used to seeing.
it's unlike LSU and it's unlike Brian Kelly, who always had Notre Dame on, on the brink
Yeah,
of,
Notre Dame
of
was typically a 10-win team a number of years in a row.
yeah,
So to not see that at LSU doesn't shock me terribly because the SEC is really hard. But I did expect a better year this year than they've had.
yeah. I truly expected more out of Brian Kelly, and
If he
I
loses Oklahoma, I'm wondering if they're starting to get a little unhappy with Brian Kelly.
I think so, and unhappy with that Southern accent that he tried when he first hired. I mean, and they,
Yeah. Well, I think every SEC fan was unhappy with that.
yeah. I mean, there's not been much that Brian Kelly's done that's caused me to like him. Um,
Yeah.
so eh, once he did that fake Southern accent, I was like, yeah, I hope you
They,
lose.
yeah, they kind of had a nice little run there at the beginning of the season. I mean, they lost to USC, but then they seemed like they were going, things were going pretty good until they, had that run in with was A&M, I believe, and
I think
then
so. Yeah,
kind of a rough go from there.
yeah,
And if they lose to Oklahoma, it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see LSU fans turn on him.
yeah. Um, you know, other than like, I don't see a lot of hot seats in the SEC this year, though.
No,
Um,
I'm surprised if anybody gets fired. To be honest, I don't think Stoops will, and I'm not sure who else might. Maybe Pittman, but I don't think so. Maybe especially if they can beat Missouri. Um, if there was one, maybe it's Pittman, but
yeah.
that I'm not sure about. So
I mean, yeah, they've still. I mean, they're bowl eligible, and they have a chance to go 500 in
yeah,
the SEC. Uh, You know,
yeah,
have a
they, they're
seven
not.
win season.
Yeah,
Um, so I wouldn't.
I don't think I would either. But just because you and I wouldn't, I mean, I don't know, man. There's always weird stuff going on in certain schools.
Yeah,
So
and
Pittman's well liked there. I kind of hope they beat Missouri and that he can stick around. If he doesn't beat Missouri, I think there could be a chance, but I hope that doesn't happen.
okay,
So,
so is there is there a coach that you think um and because we don't really see anybody on the hot seat, uh I hadn't really been thinking about this, but is there a coach outside the SEC that you're like, he'd be an interesting fit in the SEC, coming from either a group of five or another Power Four conference?
well, there's always coaches I think would be that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen or certainly
Right.
season. Landing, of course, I think of Arizona State coach Dillingham, which Arizona State's going to do everything they can to keep him, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's others. Right off the top of my head, those are two that popped out. So would it surprise me, to see some names flirted around with certain jobs? That always happens. So would you see Dan Mullen's name come up again? Maybe not for an SEC opening because I don't know if there will be any, but that'd be interesting if Arkansas did open up and they didn't go with Petrino. Would they go after a Mullen? Because that might be a good hire for Arkansas.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That'd be
there's a
interesting.
lot of what ifs there, and yeah, I think you could potentially see a school like UCF fire Malzahn, Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
They have not achieved what they thought they would this year, and I think UCF fans are kind of getting weary of him. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe a UCF fired Gus Malzahn, especially if they lose their last game against Utah. And then maybe they go after what was the guy that was at Nebraska?
Oh,
Uh,
Scott Frost. Yeah.
Scott Frost was at UCF before, and he went undefeated there.
Yeah.
That one. So it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe took another run at Scott Frost
Yeah.
because he had some success there. But I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what Indiana's coach does next year. I mean, I guess he's going to stay at Indiana.
I think he got exposed against Ohio State. I think if Indiana was as good as everybody said they were, they should have been able to play better against Ohio State.
Be
And
competitive. Yeah.
competitive, and the fact that they weren't, to me, tells me there's a lot of SEC schools that you put up against Indiana, and Indiana probably takes the loss.
Yeah.
So, um,
It's been fun to watch that run this year.
yeah,
Um,
good for Indiana fans, but I'm not convinced they're as good as everybody makes them out to be. And I'm not suggesting that Ohio State's not good. Ohio State is a good team, but
yeah.
I think Indiana should have played better given the fact that they have so much hype around them, and the
Yeah.
fact they're likely to make a playoff spot over, probably a deserving SEC school.
Yeah. We have we it's very congested in
Yep.
the SEC. You got Texas with one loss, Georgia and Tennessee with two losses, A&M with two losses, South Carolina, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Ole Miss, all with three conference losses. And so that's a tie for one, two, three, four. That's just the top four positions
Yep.
in the SEC.
Yep.
The top four, and that's over half or right at half of your teams. Um, that's
Yeah, I still think the SEC will probably have four schools in the playoff, but I don't know that that'll happen. And if it doesn't happen, it wouldn't surprise me, I guess.
yeah.
Uh,
I think
I mean,
three for
but
sure.
hard. It's hard to win in the SEC, and there's going to be other conferences that make arguments against the SEC, and I get it. Um, but
If A&M beats Texas, then I can see how Georgia, A&M, Texas, and Tennessee all get in.
well, I hope so for Tennessee's sake.
Yeah. I if Texas wins, I think it's just Texas, UGA, and Tennessee.
Okay, that's still good for the Vols. Yep.
Yeah. As long as Tennessee beats Vandy, I think Tennessee's in.
Yeah.
And I think I
Potentially
think
could.
the two teams in
Yeah,
the SEC championship get in. That fourth one is kind of up in the air.
yeah, that's not a guarantee right now, with given how the season's played out. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna know a lot more here in a few days.
Yeah.
So
I know I'm looking forward to it. A lot of
absolutely.
food on Thursday, some football on Friday, a lot of football on Saturday. It's
Oh,
rivalry week and there's a lot on the line.
a lot on the line. It's gonna be a fun Saturday, no doubt.
Well, Jared, thank you for coming to us from the middle of the ocean, from the
Yep,
middle of the Gulf,
would
and
admit.
talking football with us.
I'm glad the Wi-Fi at least allowed us, a chance to get this done. And there was a little bit of hiccup there, but we survived, and here we're ready to go into a fun weekend. And
Uh,
I'll be back in my home studio apartment. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be back in my studio next Saturday or next recording, so we'll be able to talk, rivalry week. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we will have a near final standings and be looking at a an SEC championship matchup. Looking
Can't
forward to it. Jared,
absolutely.
thanks again. If you want to find us online, go to Third Saturday in October.com. If you want to find us on social media at TSIO Pod. If you want to support the show, be a part of our Saturday chat. Find us on Venmo at TSIO Pod there as well. Um, Jared, we got one more week of the regular season. I can't believe it.
I can't wait. It's going to be phenomenal. It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you've been missing college football the last few weeks, shame on you. But don't miss this weekend. This is the weekend to watch.
Yeah. So soak it all in. And as I like to say, heroes come in all sizes and roll balls.
And I'm going to say War Eagle and go Gators.
Tailgate, man cave, living room.